Good morning, Danielle.
Hi, Kyla.
Again, we've already done this, but
Yeah.
how you doing, girl?
Oh, I'm so good. It's Beltane. We've made it to the cross quarter. We're between spring and summer. I feel it.
Mhm.
I feel the alive energy inside of myself. Just, I see it everywhere where I walk. People's energy seems lighter. It's just a good day to be alive. What about you?
Oh, yeah, that's well, I can't say anything not good after that. I'm good. I am like fresh out of a workout and a dog walk, and it's sunny, and we have new neighbors. So when Cam and I took this place and we're renting, we don't own. It's technically a 5 bedroom house that they've closed off the back end. So we have a 3 bedroom, 1 bath, and then the other side is, well, it was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. And our landlords are like the coolest people. They both work in like somatic sex education. Like they're so fucking cool. Um, yeah, yeah. Like nonviolent communication. They're just the coolest people. Like I could go into super detail, but the husband of our landlord has worked with like Layla Martin, Mama G. Like he works with the best of the best, which I just learned last month. I was on his website and I was like, holy shit, Cam, do you know like how big of a deal he is? So, anyways, the back end of the house is a really long answer to your question of how am I, but it's how I am. The back end of our house has been empty and they've been renovating it and turning it into a 1 bedroom. Uh, Anyways, with the den, it's really, really cute. And originally, he's like, "You guys, if you can find renters for it, if you want like your friends to be there, like give her." And we tried, and it wasn't working out for anyone. And so he said, "Okay, well, we'll run it by you before we put someone in there, just to make sure we're all on the same page." And they found this couple, and they've just moved in yesterday, and they seem super cool. They have a 6 month old and like a 13-year-old dog, and they're really super, super lovely. And I just had a little chat and catch up with them in the driveway. It literally like and then like ran in and hopped on this call. So I'm
Mm.
feeling like really, really good. I'm feeling really good. The
Awesome.
birds are singing and the
What
frogs
a
are
beautiful like place that you've landed without even knowing, that that space is held by what you and Cam like embody and are moving into and all of these things as well. Like what like I don't think anything is just coincidence. And I find that so synchronistic. And like even that I booked this podcast call on Beltane, like I didn't think that at the time. I was just looking at my schedule to see what would work. And it's just like all these little signs from spirit constantly coming in to weave this tapestry of our lives.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to actually say one more thing about this place that we rented because you'll appreciate it. And I know that this will
Mm.
actually thread us into the next thing. So when we were signing the lease to the place, she the woman was like, I think I can say this to you guys, but when we were doing the reno or tuning into doing the reno, we pulled tarot. We did a tarot spread for every option. We did a tarot spread for leaving it as a 5 bedroom. We did a spread for a 3 bedroom. We did a spread for a 4 bedroom. We just did all these spreads. And the spread for the 3 bedroom, which is what we ended up with, was like new beginnings, healing,
Mm.
love, family, abundance. She's like, you could do your work here. Like, think of the healing that could happen in this home. I hope
Mm.
you'll do some work here. We're like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, we'll do some work here for sure.
Yeah,
Pulled a
that's
tarot
beautiful.
spread. Get out of here. So,
Yeah.
with that, I know you pulled us some cards and they were so, of course, perfect. Do you want to share them with us?
Yeah, so I just dropped in before we got on our call and I pulled Reclaiming the Feminine and the Labyrinth cards, which is really just a returning home, which is a weaving of that tapestry of the feminine, of the goddess, of the woman. And yeah, I feel so supported in pulling those and also was not at all surprised. I was like, yeah, here you are. You're going
Mhm.
to support us. The energy of that is going to support us today in this call, but it is so alive in me to reclaim that feminine. And I think that's even the word over a month ago when we planned this call that we
Mhm.
spoke to is like that reclaiming that coming home to you to the woman that you are and how
Mhm.
delicious and sometimes chaotic that can be, but just how soft and abundant that place is, that home within yourself. So yeah, so
Mhm.
and that labyrinth, that, you know, it's not a maze, it's not meant to be confusing, it's meant to be a returning, a guiding home. And so I find that really relevant with, you know, this offering that we have at the end of the month, and my own personal journey and the little bits of your personal journey that I've been able to see and witness. It's just this returning home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
With guidance. Yeah.
yeah, I feel that in like every teeny little cell of my body. Well, and
Mm.
that's what this whole podcast is.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
reclaiming of the power, reclaiming of the self, like reclaiming of this life. With that, and maybe you've just answered it, but what are you currently reclaiming?
Mm. Yeah. Okay. This has been like a long journey home, as it often is. Maybe
Mhm.
you never fully land there until you excarnate. I'm not sure, but it feels like I'm finally home in my body, which has been a long journey to get there. Um, and what I'm reclaiming is the softness of being a woman, and the safety that I've been able to cultivate in my own body and within my relationship with my husband, and as a mother, the way that I move through the world. You know, this version of me who needed to be who she was very
Mhm.
insecure at one point and very afraid of the world and very afraid of the power that I harness within my womb, my yoni, my heart.
Mhm.
And I often dimmed my light. I often used a lot of coping mechanisms or avoidant mechanisms to just like not feel that, because it can feel intense to really be in your power as a woman. Because to me, it's not about achieving and, of course, like all of these things, it's about softening. It's about being a woman and being safe and being held and asking for what I want and knowing my standards and not settling for less and not settling for breadcrumbs and not overachieving anymore. These are all things that were so deeply ingrained that I had to unlearn and am still unlearning. So I would say, like, what I'm really reclaiming is, you know, I work a lot with women and in my own life with cyclical living, really working with our natural rhythms, how we can bridge this gap that has been created between the natural world and the way that we cycle, you know, the way that we cycle through with the moon and the way that we cycle with the seasons as women. This isn't outside of ourselves. This isn't something that we need to go and uh, I mean, maybe to a point we have to learn and remember it, but we don't have to like learn a new skill. This is all inside of us, and all it requires is some, you know, coming to self, slowing down, listening, starting to feed and move our bodies in a way that nurtures those cycles, and picking up bits and pieces of wisdom from women that we feel inspired by. And so that just feels so alive and reclaimed inside of me, because I think after so many years of wanting it and really gathering the intellectual knowledge and being inspired by so many people, I would say in the past 2 years, but really this past year, I have just fully landed,
Mhm.
fully landed within my body. And this is like a 12-year journey that I started 12 years ago
Mhm.
when I had my first daughter, of really healing my womb and my hormones. And, you know, so it takes some time, but I feel like this year I've just completely landed in it. And there is no question and there is no looking outside of myself. I am the embodied cyclical woman.
You're here.
Yeah.
I thank you for that. What was coming up for me is um how would I word this? Not, I'll just use the word comparison. I, because I am a human who definitely compares myself to others, and it's a piece that I work on all the
As
time.
we do.
And so I know that there are women of all ages who will come across a woman who is like in that like whoa, powerful embodiment, and there can be this like, why is she there? How did she do it? Why can't I feel that? And you just said like this has been a 12-year journey, and it
Yeah.
started with honoring your hormones and like birthing a child and coming back to, whoa, who am I outside of this experience of holding a baby in me and birthing it and now like feeding it,
Mhm.
so it isn't like it's just like, it's like someone coming into business success. It's not like it happens like that. You see that, that's what you see. Or
Yeah.
it's even like someone having a super fit body that you're like, whoa, must be nice. They're so lucky. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. Let's backtrack 15 to 20 years. And so thank you for actually saying like this has been a 12-year journey
Yeah.
and it's not over. It's still
Yeah.
going.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And let it be that, right? Because there's
Hmm.
been other times in those 12 years where I've been like, ooh, I'm there. Ooh,
Right.
I feel it. And
Hmm.
like that's true. That's a valid
Hmm.
too. And I've been, maybe after having my daughters, I was like, oh, like I'm a mother of three daughters. Like that is powerful. Thank
Hmm.
you. Right. Like, thank you for gifting me three daughters. And there's been other times, but there's this different energy with this landing that feels very embodied, that feels very, I don't need the external as much anymore. I'm not looking for it as much. Like I feel really grounded in it for myself.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
One of the, now I know you, so this is different, yeah. But the one of the moments that, because I've seen this, I've always thought you were just the most beautiful embodiment of the feminine. And I've also like seen what I didn't
Mhm,
even know could be more growth. And one of the things that I remember seeing and was like, oh, something's
mhm,
changing is you stepping back into like your herbalism and your plant
mhm,
work and your medicine work and
mhm,
creating again. And that was really, really sweet to see.
mhm,
I know
mhm.
that
Yeah,
that was a piece. It's important to get back into.
yeah. And that really was a huge um catalyst to my womb work, right? Is to start to heal myself naturally and not be dependent on, artificial sources and things and doctors and yeah, there's a place for all of that as well. But
Yeah.
that it was my journey was starting to work with plant medicine in very small but intentional ways 12, 13 years ago where, you couldn't just like log on to Instagram and be like inundated by all this information. I really had to
Mhm.
like just start to develop a relationship myself with these plants and I was very drawn to them. And I would say that that was like a big catalyst to healing myself and to becoming more connected to the cycles of nature because when you witness them firsthand, how can you discard or shame your own cycles, right? When you see that a plant goes through those beautiful evolutions that they need to go through, how
Mhm.
can you then shame yourself for going through those as well, right? And so that was like a big learning piece. And yeah, it's definitely not something that I've ever strayed from, but I kind of ebb and flow with offering them to the general public for, we won't get into that story, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
just it is the sacred medicine of my heart for sure to work
Yeah.
with plant medicine in all things that I do, whether that's offering a friend a cup of tea from the plants that I've harvested myself or sitting in ceremony with different plants and or being out in my garden or tending to the land or being a good caretaker of the land. That all just supports and that again is just coming back to the natural ways of being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just speak a little bit about your land? Because again, I know you, I know the land well, and listeners don't. Some listeners
Yeah.
don't. So share a little bit about your beautiful space.
Mm. About 8 years ago, my husband and I lived in Duncan in a little duplex with a tiny little yard, and we just wanted to grow. We loved our little home. It was where we had our second daughter at home, and it felt like home, but there was no yard space, and we really wanted to grow. We wanted to grow food. We wanted to grow medicine. And so we started to like expand our horizons and start to look, and this property sort of presented itself and it was absolutely not what we wanted. I'll just say that, like, the house is not what we wanted. The way the yard, like, so we're on 5 acres in Scotts Falls, which is near Lake Cowichan. The location wasn't exactly where we were looking, but I walked onto this property and I was like, I'm home. I'm
Mhm.
home. And I'm telling you, Kyla, like there probably was maybe only two things that met our criteria. Like this was not on
Wow.
paper what we wanted at all. And so, the unfortunately, the caretakers of the land previous to us, who was also the person who built the house, they really didn't do a good job attending to the land. There was garbage everywhere. There was
Hmm.
decrepit outbuildings. Like, and when I'm talking garbage everywhere, I'm talking like landmine, like landfills of garbage everywhere.
Oh.
It was really, really sad. And a lot of things were falling apart. And so Ryan's looking at me like, we didn't really say a fixer upper. Like, we were thinking like 1 acre, like Cobble Hill area. And I was like, this is home. And it took like, again, that evolution, that journey, it took years to really make it what it is now. And now, we have a dome, Rising Soul Space, which we have had for 3 years in September, where we gather in circle, in ceremony, in workshops, retreats. We've cleaned up the land, we've tended to the land, we've left as much natural land as possible. Um, we work with permaculture, we've created huge garden spaces. We've really invited back in like natural pollinators and natural flora and fauna. We actually just yesterday found a female dead elk on our property,
Oh,
which to some might feel like, but she was obviously aged or sick because there's no injury. And to us, it's like, wow, what a sacrifice, what a blessing right before Beltane or on Beltane to
yeah.
find this female elk on the property. And it doesn't, you know, we know that was an offering, and we don't take it lightly, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this land is so sacred and so special. And I saw so much potential. And again, it's like after 8 years landing home, like this is
Mhm.
home and this is
Mhm.
where we need to be. And this is the land that we needed to steward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I got super, super chills when you spoke about that elk. Like she could have chose anywhere
Mhm. Yeah. And
to
she's
give
the
herself.
where she passed away is like right beside, like I would say, like maybe 50 feet away or 100 feet away from uh, my sacred nettle patch, where I've done deep, deep journeys with other women, with myself, with my babies. Since having my third child, I've brought her to that patch every year, and we sit in ceremony together with grandmother Nettle. So, like, and the fact that the elk died very nearby, it's just all
Mhm.
serendipitous and so magical and sacred. Yeah.
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 Wow. Wow. Okay. So speaking of your beautiful space, do you want to talk a little bit about what you and I are collaborating on in said beautiful space?
Oh, I can't wait. I have like my whole body just like vibrates thinking about this offering,
Yeah.
because it's been, again, like I don't know why we keep talking about this labyrinth, but it's been 2 years in the making to
Yeah.
make this offering land, right? Because we tried last year and
Mhm.
both of us had external things happening, and it wasn't right. And the fact that, again, we tapped into that feminine essence of honoring that, and we didn't
Yeah.
push, we didn't force, and we just said, hey, it's not right, like, love you, see you when it's right. And I feel
Mhm.
like now it's here and
Mhm.
it's landing. So yeah, we are offering the Goddess Temple on May 26th. Shivers.
I
um,
know.
and this is like the reclamation, whether you are embodied in that already, and you really feel that goddess energy, and you just want to gather with other goddess women, and or you're just like, starting to really find that within yourself, and you're really like curious about your own edges and your own connection to the goddess and to the feminine. I think
Mhm.
it's going to be just this magical transformative day where women get to come and feel so held and so inspired and lit up. And there's going
Mhm.
to be these elements of like integration, and these elements of activation, and these elements of holding and surrendering, celebrating and grieving. Like it's going to be the whole
Mhm.
package, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm so excited. And at 10 till 3, so it's sort of that half day range. And
Mhm.
do we have space for 7 or 8 women? I can't remember.
Yeah, we have a woman signed up and a few tentative that are just kind of like waiting for this podcast to hear the juicy details, because we've been a bit quiet about it, because
We've been
I think
very
that there's
quiet.
this element of like intuition is going to speak through us. And so I think
Mhm.
7 women. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
number. Mhm.
And we're just like ready. We're ready to welcome these women in.
We're so ready. Um, and yeah, of course there's going to be breath work because I'm coming. That's like you can't bring me somewhere and have me not do it. I'm gonna do it.
And let's talk about that. Like how deep, like we are like
Mhm.
deep feminine breath work. Like
Mhm.
let's go there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I haven't even tuned in fully as to like, is this going to be a journey through the chakras? Are we just going to kind of go like heart, womb, yoni focus?
Mhm,
I don't know. I don't know.
mhm.
That'll come, but it's going to be, breath work is the quick in my humble opinion, is like the most potent, fastest way to get us out of our head and into our body.
Yeah.
And that's where Goddess magic lives, is in our body. So
Mhm,
we're gonna really spend the whole day there. Yeah, breath work is gonna bring out some beautiful layers, and I trust some ahas and some, you've used this word already, but I use it a lot when I speak about breath or medicine, is the remembering, right?
mhm,
Like none of this is actually new. None of this is outside of you. And that's, yeah, gosh, I love breathwork so much for that. It's this deep remembering or mm, awareness that, oh, holy shit, it is actually just right here. It is just right here. And
mhm,
it's funny, for the first couple of years that I was practicing breath work, actually, it still comes up. It actually still really comes up. And in the beginning, I was like, why is this coming up? This is so random. I, every single time, would feel like, even if I was crying, I was turned on.
mm,
I was turned on. There was energy moving in places that in my normal day-to-day life, when I'm so heady, that
mhm,
energy isn't flowing. And so even, yeah, it's so funny. Even in moments where I was in a relationship with someone where we weren't having sex, we weren't intimate, we weren't connecting, and I would go into breath work and I was like, oh, maybe I want it. And I would finish breath work and I'm
mhm.
like, I'd get home and I'm like, no, I definitely don't want it. But but when I'm in my body, so there's such power there. It's so good. And I think to be in a
Oh,
circle with women.
the things I could say about this. I resonate so deeply, girl.
Okay, I
Okay,
want
well,
to
I'm
I want
just
to hear
gonna
it.
say quickly that the first time I did conscious connected breath work with Kyla in the dome, I not only birthed, like I felt like I went through an
Uh-huh.
entire birth portal, I also had a fucking orgasm. So if y'all are ready for some of that potent magic, like please bring it. So yeah,
Oh,
that was
so
like my
good.
first experience with like deep, deep conscious connected breath work with you. And
Mhm.
yeah, I went there and I felt it and it was
It's so good.
delicious.
It's so
Yeah.
good. I
So
can't
bring it.
guarantee an orgasm. Like I won't
Yeah.
guarantee
No, please
it,
don't.
but it's possible.
Yeah, it is possible. And we
It's
will open
possible.
some of those channels to make that possible if that's the intention. And that doesn't
Yeah.
have to be the intention. For some, it may be a softer journey of really tending to the womb and hearing the
Mhm.
whispers of the womb and what she has to say and the guidance she offers. And for some, it may just be, feeling that sacral creative fire energy.
Mhm.
And for some, it may be the integration of the feminine in the body and what that feels like, that primordial like ancestral storyline that lives within us, right? It doesn't have to be the orgasm. I just thought that was so relevant
It's so
because
good.
that was my experience of doing breath work with
Mhm.
you in a group setting for the first time as I went through the birth portal and into orgasm. And
Mhm.
can we let that be alive on this journey if it's meant to be, right? Can we let our
Mhm.
bodies soften to receive, soften
Mhm.
so deeply into the feminine, so we're getting out, like you said, we're getting out of the head, we're getting out of the intellectual, and we're dropping into the body. And what does the body need? And if, for example, if you weren't getting sex, but that sacral center was open, that's what you needed. You needed the breath to
Mhm.
remind you that that's so important and so vital, right? And so for some women who are coming, they may need that too, or not. And
Mhm.
everything is
Mhm.
acceptable and welcomed and honored in that space.
Absolutely. And then do you want to talk a little bit about, excuse me, some of the other practices that we're going to be playing with?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So one practice that I love to do for myself and love to encourage other women to do that is becoming a bit more mainstream. I'm seeing a lot more people talking about is yoni steaming. So this
Mhm.
is the practice of using intentional herbs to in hot water and using the steam and the nutrients that extract from the herbs used from the steam to essentially steam our yonis, so our
Mhm.
vulva, our vagina, the tissues, the membranes. And there can be several different reasons we do this. Sometimes it's to increase fertility, sometimes it's to increase lubrication, sometimes it's to calm those areas. So if there is a lot of, friction or even disconnect to really ground into that energy. So, yeah, so we'll do a yoni steam. And my lovely, amazing husband is crafting some and has crafted many, and my own included, yoni steamers, so yoni boxes. And those will be available for purchase when you sign up. And it's optional. You can also bring a Sorry, my dog and cat are chasing each other
Okay.
in the background. You can also bring a bowl and do it that way if that feels good, or if you have your own steamer at home, that's also okay. And yeah, but they will be available for purchase if you just want to come and get yourself a yoni steamer on the day of. And we'll be, yeah, just doing some womb massage, some self massage. There'll be like deep integrative time in that to really just be with ourselves. That's post breath work. So that's going to really just let everything land in the body, and yeah, we'll just kind of see what comes from that space. And
Mhm.
I think other than that, like some movement, some earthing, we're going to spend some time outside praying that the sun god will be with us.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, just some conscious, intentional sharing. Just like all of the little threads. I don't want to share too much, but like
Mhm.
it's a little bit of everything. But that
Mhm.
yoni steam and that conscious connected breath is where this all really births from, is like how can we bring women together to do those two elements in a
Mhm.
safe container, in a sacred space, so that they can really feel themselves
Mhm.
open up to receive.
Yeah. 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 And then I also don't want to give too many details away. One thing I will just speak here is I had a girlfriend who is I think she's coming. She was like, I know it
Mhm.
says to be open to nudity. Like,
Mhm.
what does that mean exactly? Do I need to be naked? I was like,
Okay. Yeah, I've
no,
gotten a few of those
no.
too.
You don't have to be naked. But the fact that we're yoni steaming, I said, look, what if you're wearing a long skirt and you move your skirt to get on the steamer? And
Mhm.
right, there might be a moment where you give us a good show. Or we're also, we have we have 8 acres, 5 acres of
Five
forest.
acres, five. Yeah.
What if you feel or someone next to you feels to go lay in the forest naked? Right.
Yes.
That's the thing. No, we're not all going to sit around naked, and we're not yoni gazing at this
Yeah.
particular
Not
gathering.
this one.
That's the next one.
This level two.
So no, just to place it here. No, we're not all going to be naked,
Hmm.
and permission is there if you feel to be nude in the forest.
Yeah.
And yes, great. Yes, please. So
Yeah.
you just have to be
It's
open
an
to seeing it.
invitation. Yeah.
It's an
It's an
invitation.
invitation for women to be fully embodied in whatever feels right for them. And if it's
Totally.
like fully clothed all day, we honor that. Beautiful. Thank you for
Hmm.
showing up. If it's fully naked all day, we honor that. Thank you for showing
Hmm.
up. Beautiful, right? And
Yeah.
anything in between.
Yeah.
And when we are gifted permission and it's not expected of us, and we're not being told what to do in that
Hmm.
capacity, then we have
Hmm.
the spaciousness to decide for ourselves. And that's
Yeah.
really, really important. So
Yeah.
it's encouraged if it feels right, right? Like
Yeah.
if you want to be naked while you steam, beautiful. If you want to, I also will, suggest bring a silk robe if you want, or like you said, a
Hmm.
long skirt, or a nice like sheet that you feel really nice, like, held in. If you want to go outside, like you said, and lay a blanket down and do some yoni
Hmm.
sunning, or even just, be down in your bra and underwear, like whatever. We're going to
Hmm.
be, my family will be off the land. We're going to be here. We're going to be completely held and supported in that energy, and whatever needs to happen will happen and will transpire. But yeah, it's important to just note that there may be some nudity, and that's like sacred and beautiful. And if we can hold that for our sisters,
Hmm.
like maybe we can hold it for ourselves too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like that. as a woman is like part of some of our deepest healing is
Mm.
just being naked and
Yeah,
being seen,
it is.
just being seen
Yeah.
in love, in like
Yeah.
in honor. Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't even, what time is it? I don't even know what time it is. Okay.
we could talk about this.
We'll go on and on and on and on. I'm going to put the link in the show notes just for how we can
Mhm.
register, but also maybe share a little bit about how we can find you and Rising Soul and what you've got going on at the Dome.
Yeah. Okay. So on Instagram, Rising Soul Space, we have a geodesic dome that looks like a spaceship, or in my words, I call it my womb dome.
Ah.
And we hold, like I said, circles, retreats, offerings. Things are shifting as I become more embodied in my work. Yeah, I just feel the energy shifting. So I've been sharing bits and pieces on that page. And one energy that's shifting is that I'm really pulling away from social media because I find it kind of a distraction for myself to be fully embodied. And that's just my personal need right now, is to be more in my present life and less sort of on that space. So it can go quiet for a while, but we have a website that's always updated, that has a calendar on it, risingsoulspace.com. So you can find like offerings on there. Um, yeah, and just really coming together with intention and wanting to bring in more offerings that are really rooted in men and women returning home to themselves, because we do a lot of men's work here as well.
Hmm.
And I feel this journey of like bringing that together. Men and women's work is coming and landing at the dome slowly but surely. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's just really beautiful in that way. And then I do also have a private, or not a private, but my own space on Instagram, Rooted Woman, but woman. So WOMBAN.
Hmm.
But again, I don't share there very often either. And I may just come in and drop in with something when I'm inspired to. But I
Hmm.
think the last time I made a post was in August. Yeah. So that says a lot, but that's been like the journey of embodiment for me, is to just
Hmm.
create space from these external places just to really come home to myself. But I do come and I just drop things in as I see them fit, and intuitively get them. And if they land, they land. If not, that's okay too. Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's where we are.
Okay. I love that. I really love that for you. Yeah, there's a part of me that's like, burn it all to the ground, get rid of the phone,
Mhm,
get rid
I
of
know.
everything. And
But how do you
until
run a business that way? Is like, that's the double-edged sword, is like,
that's
me
it.
too. I have
Yeah.
removed all those things off my phone for like months at a time, and it feels really spacious. But there is
Hmm.
a level of wanting connection from, like I don't get
Hmm.
to see you very often. So it's like sometimes I want to know what's going on in your world,
Yeah.
for example, right? Or connect.
Yeah.
And then running a business outside of social media. But what I'm seeing is, because I am surrounded by very many like goddess women, is they're starting to that dismantling of social media, of like stepping away, and what's that going to birth, right? How are we going to communicate outside of that space to still
Hmm.
ensure that other women who are newer to this world are still coming in? Because that is, I am a woman of service, I'm a woman in community. Like, that is my role on this earth, is to usher new women into this world. Like, that feels so alive in me. And how do I do that without saying it out loud to people, right? And so that
Yeah,
that double-edged sword is real. Yeah.
it is. It is. And I feel like depending on what your business is, like I think you could actually get away with it with the dome if you just
Hmm.
have enough content, which
Yeah.
doesn't have to be you. It can be photos of the dome, photos of
Right.
ceremony, it could be photos of facilitators doing things. I mean, you could hire someone who loves being on social media and just fully step away. It's different, I think, like it's harder for me because I
Hmm.
am my business
You are.
and people want to know who I am before doing
Yeah.
business with me, which I totally get. So I think dependent on your business, you can really get away with it.
Hmm.
And if I figure out another way, I will do it. I
Yeah. And I
will
mean,
do it.
it's just mindful steps, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes I feel really inspired to be in this space, and that's great. I flow with that. And other times I'm like, wow, I haven't even checked the space in weeks. Like, what is that? And just honoring
Mhm.
both. And,
Mhm.
maybe it's not great for the algorithm, but it's good for my life. And that's more important.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the two, one is more important ultimately.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, I just can't wait for our offering. I feel like it's just, and there is like a potential bonus. And so I'm not going to speak to what that bonus is,
Mhm.
but we are sort of in conversation with a woman who feels inspired to sort of bring something that I think women are going to really appreciate at the end of our event. So there may be an extra bonus that's just included, which is epic.
So epic, so
Yeah.
epic. And the only way you'll find out is if you register.
Yeah, exactly. And oh, we didn't talk to, there is a bonus integration call a
Yeah.
week later. So
Yes.
again, it's like to really complete that sort of ceremonial space because this is what this is, right? It's not
Yeah.
just like a wishy-washy, whatever
Yeah.
retreat. It's like this is intentional space, this is ceremonial space. There's things that are going to come up, right? Whether
Hmm.
those are like heavy things, light things, beautiful things, hard things, everything in between. Things will
Yeah.
come up and it is a ceremony.
Yeah.
And Kyla and I really feel that like checking in a week later is
Hmm.
so essential and so important to
Hmm.
see how ceremony is rippling out into your world and how you feel and that integration. Yeah.
Yeah. Integration is the most important part, whether it's like, oh, I read this book that was really inspiring, or I had a plant medicine journey, or I had a
Mhm.
breathwork journey or a Reiki session. And wow, all of this stuff came to me. Great. And now what? Right? Like that's the experience of reading the book or going to ceremony or having whatever the thing is that happened is great. And it's like 20%. It's
Well,
fine.
integration is the threshold to embodiment, right? Is
Yeah.
like you learn or do a ceremony, like you said. Integration is that torch passing, right? As if you don't integrate, there's no embodiment on the other side. So
Yeah.
if you're coming with the intention to embody that goddess energy and to
Hmm.
really reclaim that feminine energy within yourself, let's create space for integration.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Boom. Great.
Mm.
Thank you. Done and done. Yeah. Before we jump off, is there anything else like sitting around your heart
Mm.
that you want to share?
Mm. I think that just like feels really good. And I feel so inspired by all these beautiful women, you included, in my world that are, reclaiming all of these parts of themselves and who are open and who are changing the stories. And every week I get to sit with so many women in circle and see all different parts of journeys, right? Whether it's like the very, very
Mhm.
beginning, that little seed, to like this flourished, embodied, blossomed version, and everything in between. And it's like, it's so fucking magical. It like
Mhm.
women are the epitome of magic, of passion, of sensuality, sexuality. Like we are like the wisdom, the womb keepers. And yeah, it just feels so alive in me to like bow so deeply to women and to all of the magic that lives in our bodies. And I just hope offerings like this can just remind women of how magical that they are and continue to be inspired by women outside of themselves, but also inspired by themselves as women, because it's all inside of us. So let's unleash some of it together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm gonna add to that. I feel like, you know what
please
I
do.
feel like right now? I feel like, in oh my God, Bridesmaids.
Oh my God, that's the movie that Ryan and I on our first date. That is the movie he picked
Really?
for our first date.
It's hilarious. But I feel like right now you and I are at the um engagement party or the
Mm,
wedding. We're at the moment where they're doing speeches and the new best friend and the old best friend are like,
mhm,
do you know what I mean? When one goes
mhm,
up and she speaks like Spanish and then the other one's like, blah, 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 says whatever, and they just like can't let it go. Oh, one more
mhm.
thing. Okay, so that's what I feel like we're doing right now. Um, so I
I
feel like
didn't know
I'm
where you were
doing.
going with that.
I feel like I'm doing it. You because we could have ended there. It was perfect. And I'm like,
Mhm,
and one more thing. And now I've talked so long, I forget. Oh, right. So what I want to say too is like for those who feel called to come,
mhm,
just right there, if there was any feeling of comparison or pedestally or I'm not here yet or whatever that might be, the fact that you feel called to come places you as like places you there. Like you are that ta-da, you made it.
Hmm.
Like that's it. There's that spark. There's something there. Ooh, there's
What if
that
you
word.
didn't have to be anything to show up? Like, what
Yeah.
if you didn't have to have all the books read and all the courses done and, be super attuned to your cyclical nature? Well, like, what if you didn't have to do that? And what if you
Yeah.
just came because you felt like, ooh, that's like where I need to be?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm. So we welcome you.
We
We
welcome you.
deeply welcome you and like let's do this.
Hmm.
And this is the first of many, like maybe
Hmm.
there will be some level twos and level threes and who knows what that will hold for us, but this is only the beginning. So
Yeah,
yeah. Mm. Thank you
I
for
love it.
bringing that in. Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for co-facilitating this beautiful event with me.
I can't wait. I really
Same.
can't wait. Yeah.
All right. So everyone can find you at Rising Soul Space.
Hmm.
I just don't even look at the name. I just know where I'm going. And she may or may not get back to you
In a
in a
timely
meeting
manner.
fashion. And otherwise, website is there active live all
Yeah.
the time.
And
And
Linktree, this event is in our Linktree, so you can just pop right in there. You
perfect.
don't even have to talk to me if you don't want to.
There you go. Not until the day. And it will also be in the show notes. So whatever is easiest for you listening, you can go ahead and do that. Danielle, I love you.
I love you too. Mm,
And I will see you in just a few short weeks.
sounds wonderful.
Okay. Have
Bye.
a beautiful day. Bye, babe.